Hi, welcome to my little journey of building my first ever bioactive for my jumping spider. I used this exo-terra nano tall for this build and it worked out very perfectly. First I started out with doing a foam background, as you see on a lot of bioactive builds. This was my first time, like I said, so please ignore how rough my foaming skills are and my skills for literally everything else. It was a little rough journey, but that's why I started so small. I didn't want to take on such a big project right away, but I did go on to make bigger projects, of course. In fact, this video was recorded a year and a half ago, and since then I've made a lot of other things that I recorded as well, so hopefully I will actually edit them and post them. So obviously I'm just foaming the background. I added this cork tube and a little piece of spider wood. My plan was, well, my hopes were that my spider would go inside the cork tube, web it up, and just have a good time, but she never ended up actually doing that. But that's okay, because I still think it looked nice. This was the end result, and then I just had to wait for it to cure and puff up. Once it puffed up and was nice and foamy, I carved it up because, if you didn't know, the silicone won't stick onto the foam unless you carve it because of the texture. So I just used a butter knife, and again, my skills are not good. It was my first time, and it was just an awkward angle. Everything was kind of a mess. But I got the job done, and that's all that really matters to me personally. While I'm carving this foam, I might as well say that since this was a year and a half ago, and it was a jumping spider enclosure, the jumping spider that was living in this enclosure for about a year has since passed away. I found her when she was already full grown, and they don't live that long. I had her for about a year and a half, so sadly she's no longer with us. But there are clips of her at the end if you want to see jumping spider content. Carving was honestly the most time-consuming part of this whole process. But I cut out a lot of it. Next is the silicone. Next is the silicone, and to make it look more natural and realistic, I guess you could say, I am putting a mix of ecoworth and moss onto the silicone to just make everything blend in and look nice. I'm sure you've seen this before. It's not a new process. But I do think it looks really nice. This process was incredibly messy. Definitely wear gloves if you do this. Definitely cut a bigger hole in the silicone tube applicator. I don't know what to call it, but definitely cut a bigger hole in there because it was so difficult to get out. And I'm a very weak person. But again, I got the job done. I was new. I was doing my best. And in the end, it looked pretty good. I just kind of squeezed it out and then rubbed it around with my little fingy. That's why I'm wearing gloves. And then just pressed the ecoworth and moss into the area that I did. I definitely recommend doing small areas at a time. It made things a lot easier. And ages later, I'm finally done with the background. Here's how it looks in the sun. It looks okay. I think it looks a lot better once everything else is put in it. So that's what we're gonna do next. For the substrate, I have the Biodude's Terra Aranea, which works really well if you're doing small little things like this, but I probably won't use it again. You know, maybe I will. I do really like it, it works really well, but it's very expensive. But I do recommend it if you are willing to buy it and you're afraid of mixing your own substrate like I was, although I'm gonna work on that. So this first layer I'm going to make pretty moist because this is where I'm keeping my springtails, which are these guys. I have it in this little container because, as you can see, I have the Josh's Frogs big container right next to it, but I do not need that many springtails in there because, as you can see, there's already a lot in this little thing, and they're gonna populate, they're gonna repop, what am I trying to say? They're going to grow in population anyway. So this is where I'm putting those, and I will be moistening that layer and then adding a dry layer on top so that it's not wet, because jumping spiders do not need too much humidity and a wet ground. That's not how they thrive. And I'm very sorry that the camera's out of focus. This is my first time. So here's the dry layer. I'm really taking my time with this. Now I'm adding my little plant. I love peperomias, they're one of my favorites, and they work really, really well in jumping spider enclosures. I love the leaves on them. They're perfect for webbing and jumping. And I just think they look really nice. I love the shape of their leaves, and they're pretty hardy from what I've seen, from what I've experienced. They're just one of my favorite plants. Now I'm adding leaf litter, but this part drives me crazy because I add like 4 leaves, and I promise I added more since recording this again. This was a year and a half ago, and I think it looks so silly with the 6 leaves I added in here. But it's okay. Now it's just the decoration time. I'm adding some wood. I have this little log that I think I got from a giveaway on Instagram. So thank you, whoever sent that to me. This is just me messing around, trying to see what looks good. I also have this little piece of spider wood that I got on Amazon, I believe. There's also a lot of me just playing around with what I think looks best, and honestly, looking back at this, I did not think I chose the best location. And again, since it's been a while, I've added a lot more twigs and stuff that my spider used a lot more. Although she did really like the big piece of driftwood that's in there. Because honestly, I think that looks good there, but past me didn't think so, and she moved the little spider wood around. She looks cute too, though. I don't hate it, obviously. I'm still very, very proud of how this enclosure turned out. So there is the pretty much finished product. There's the pretty much finished product. My spider got a lot of use out of it, and I think she was very happy with her little live enclosure. Bioactives are really fun to make, and if you are afraid of trying it, I would just say jump into it because it's really fun and worth it because your animals will be very happy. I didn't get any clips of me putting my spider into the enclosure, but I will add a couple clips of her just hanging out, her being a cool little fella. Her name was Peter, although she was a girl, named after Spider-Man. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I love jumping spiders, and I love bioactive enclosures, and I hope you do too. Alright, have a good day.